Greetings, heathens and heretics, and welcome to a special extra little Bloodstock related episode. It's me, obviously, Bean, obviously, pretty much. Uncle Mike's back. Say hello, Uncle Mike.
Hello, Uncle Mike.
And we're also joined by a gentleman by the name of Alan Williams. And many of you might not necessarily know that name, but if you went to Bloodstock this weekend, then you'll certainly have half a clue. Alan, welcome to our humble, grubby little podcast.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So quickly before we get into the detail then, why have we got you on it and why would people know you?
Yes, I'm Alan Williams. I'm the sculptor that made the bust of Lemmy that if you were at Bloodstock, you would have seen it in the gallery. And there was an unveiling on the main stage as well on Friday and a sort of ceremony. So I created that sculpture with the help of a fellow artist as well. That's sort of my thing is I create sculptures out of scrap, reclaimed materials, car, motorbike, sort of salvaged mechanical items, basically.
Where did you get that stuff from? I mean, I saw was it you were in Saudi, where you were in something like that, and you were in a massive scrap metal place in the middle of the desert. Where do you get it from in the UK?
So I source things from all over the place. There's like motorbike mechanics I sort of go to. Car boots are pretty good for sort of worn out tools and things like that. I love car boots because you can kind of, the bartering system's just brilliant. I love to sort of be able to play that game a bit.
You had something. You had some special stuff on Lemmy, didn't you? You want to talk about
that? I had some tank parts on there. I had like the Challenger 2 end track cup links. These like clamp things. And I had those as his top pocket. They're quite sort of small bits, but they're really, really meaty. They're like thick, solid steel. And I sort of tried to forge them up a bit to just give him a bit of movement for the shape of his top pockets. So yeah, that's quite a beast. I also went to Harley Davidson, one of the Harley Davidson outlets. And I told them about the project, and they were like, "Yeah, you can come and raid our scrap bins." So they were really accommodating. So I sort of went down there,
nice,
and got given a tour. Their sort of factory and stuff. And they let me raid their bins. They were really, a lot of Motorhead fans in the Harley Davidson outlets.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To be expected.
Where'd you get tank parts from?
Tank parts, that was actually left over from a commission I did a couple of years ago for a military regiment called the King's Hussars, the 14th King's Hussars. And I had to make them a sculpture of, it was basically their insignia, which is this kind of griffin type bird that held an orb and a scepter in its claws. But they sort of said, "Oh, we'll supply you with all the parts for the sculpture. We'll get down all the tank parts and things." And then they gave me all these like massive heavy duty things you could make, coffee tables you wouldn't be able to lift out of. But the thing is, the sculpture was actually quite a small, detailed bird. So I was like, I can't really use any of this. So I ended up getting a load of nuts and bolts off, basically scraped off the mechanics floor of the tanks. So this, that was just one of the sort of things. I've got a bucket of these end track connectors. They're really, you can't even, as a bucket, I can barely lift it. That came in quite handy for this one. And, I got this sort of surplus materials from other jobs.
I can only imagine just things must go missing in your house all the time. Like just the family's like, "Have you seen that alarm clock?" And you're like, no.
Well, the cutlery drawer just got lighter, actually. Yeah. we had a surplus of forks anyway. Yeah, we don't need that. No one needs that many forks. I mean, we had about 30 forks.
Fair enough.
So, I restock from my own, domestic supplies sometimes.
I want to just take the story back a bit. So I want to just give a bit of context and a bit of a confession, because myself, Uncle Mike, and Al, we actually go way back. We know each other. We actually went to school together.
Way back.
Long time ago.
Yeah, long. I mean, we're talking a long time ago. And I think that's significant for a few reasons, and one of which being like Al was around at the beginning of our heavy metal journey, right? So when we were getting into bands, like Al's place was kind of like the epicenter of all that. It was a bit of a hangout. I was in a band at the time. We used to rehearse in Al's front room. Mike would help me haul the drum kit in, set everything up, and so all of that was going on. So we're getting into music, discovering heavy metal, and and other stuff as well. And it was a golden era. We get to the end of our school days and kind of all go our separate ways, as tends to happen. And then there was a kind of these two moments that certainly blew my mind, and I know Mike has said, Uncle Mike has said the same thing. We kind of catch up at various intervals over the years, 40th birthdays, things like that. And we find out, Al, that you've been doing this incredible, like literally heavy metal work, working with heavy metal and bits of machine and stuff like that, creating these incredible sculptures. And then fast forward to now, for us to find out and discover sort of over the airwaves that you've been commissioned to make this bust of Lemmy Kilminster, was, it was like jaws hit the floor moment, just absolutely incredible news. So I just wanted to tell us a little bit, fill in the gaps, maybe starting with kind of how you got into this work or this medium of working with metal.
Well, I mean, it is my confession. I know you probably don't like me saying it, Dean, but like when we were at school, Beanie to me was like the top artist.
Well,
He was so good at drawing. He was so good at drawing. Well, man, he was amazing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Look, listen, you're going to make me blush. You're going to make me blush now. We'll have none of that.
So I thought that, yeah. So you kind of like inspired my artistic thing, really. And then, back then, leaving school, like the art teacher I had was a horrible piece of work. Was just like, she was just like, you'll never get into art college. And one of my teachers was just like, you should just join the army. Yeah.
What inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're assuming that's not just for tank parts.
I've only ever done things that people could tell me I couldn't do. I've never been inspired by people that have encouraged me, which is weird. I mean, I don't feel I really had that much encouragement anyway. I was really destructive as a kid, so my parents wouldn't let me have any power tools. Yeah, because I was very destructive as a kid. So I used to smash stuff up, and I was really vandalistic. And like, there's like, no way you're having power tools. So that was always kind of wanted to always get my hands on tools. And I've got this tattoo on my arm, right, which is it's based on a design from my mum's hot plates from the 70s. And I remember looking at it, it's a really cool design. And I said, I really want to get that as a tattoo when I'm older. And my mum was like, you're never going to get a tattoo. And then obviously that's the tattoo. I went and got that tattooed on my arm. And that's the kind of sort of been the premise of my life, really. It's just like whatever anyone's told me I couldn't do is always the direction I wanted to go in. So
all I can say to that is Lemmy would be proud.
Yeah, 100%.
Born to lose, live to win.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fucking that is I so resonate with that.
So what was your first sculpture? When did this kind of this attitude of like I just want to throw myself into it and give it a go morph into these metal sculptures?
Well, I studied it up to degree level, and the metal thing. I remember seeing on TV, seeing a program with this guy, sort of all these sparks and kind of like hammering all this hot metal, and it's just like, whoa, that was kind of, that was like the sort of mecca of what I wanted to do. It's just like all the equipment you have to wear as well, like the welding visors and stuff. It all looks like this kind of really cool, kind of all the gear looked really cool and the sparks and everything. So that was kind of, and the noise, it's just all everything that kind of resonated with me is that slightly kind of, I wasn't ADHD, but my mum would say otherwise, but like she thought I was a bit hyper.
I can vouch for the hyperactivity. I've got great memories of just literally running around Al's house as kids. I mean, to be fair, we were older than kids. We were far too old to be running around. Just having these insane kind of mega battles with anything we could find.
Yeah, sort of studying out to degree level, and then from there, just sort of getting into using waste materials because I was sort of sculpting with no money. Back in the day, you could kind of pull out a copper boiler out of a skip because people would just be chucking that sort of stuff away. So it's kind of like, free materials. So I guess it's kind of based on that. And to be honest, the stuff I was first making, especially at university, was pretty rubbish. It was pretty rubbish. Like,
I know, I've got two Williams originals pieces, and I love them. You made me a squid for my wedding,
That's right. Yeah.
Which sits proudly in the hallway, and somewhere
Oh,
in a drawer,
cool.
I've got an octopus you made out of a spoon, which is also very cool. A spoon and a fork.
Yeah.
But actually,
Yeah.
one of the first pieces you did that really took my breath away was that rhino, the skip rhino, because I saw that in the flesh at the sculpture garden. I don't know if it's still there.
Right.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That was a beast. That was just that was a passion project. Just like, what can I make? I want to make something really industrial out of some really industrial stuff. So yeah, it's this kind of life size, slightly smaller than baby, let's say, baby rhino, made out of a skip, and sort of chopping it all up and keeping all the original features of the skip and all those kind of paint scratches and the yellow where you get the kind of rust coming through. And that was a cool piece. That's a cool piece. Broke me doing that, but yeah, it's good. I sometimes have these ideas for pieces that I think are going to be slight kind of turning points for my artistic direction, like sort of landmark pieces that I sort of strive towards. I mean, Lemmy's pretty icing on the cake, really, as far as that goes.
So you might as well retire now.
Like you've been working on these projects and clearly building a profile for yourself. So how did Bloodstock come across your work?
I'm not entirely sure. I guess they sort of searched sort of social media. They probably Googled sort of metal artists and things. Apparently they approached quite a few artists and with the brief. And I think it was Vicky Hungerford who runs the show there. She kind of really liked my work and she liked my pitch. So yeah, I had to kind of pitch for it against other people, and I guess kind of my work won through. So yeah.
Wow. So what did you include in the pitch? How did you come back to them?
Well, they'd already seen my work, so because my work's all sort of out there and online, I don't have to sort of try too hard to kind of get images together to sort of put into a proposal. But I sort of did an initial sketch of Lemmy. So I did one of the old Lemmy, sort of with the hat and shades and the cross, and then they sort of said, no, we want to depict a younger Lemmy, so we don't want the hat and we don't want the shades. And I was like, oh, that's a real challenge. That's what would make my life so much easier, as it has done for so many more sculptors and artists before me.
It's kind of like the caricature, isn't it? It's like if you can get those bits right, then it kind of looks like Lemmy. But for anyone that hasn't seen the bust, it really does depict a much younger Lemmy. That kind of classic era, 1981, 83 kind of. When he was a very handsome man indeed.
Yeah, rather than like the aging rock star that you see, like the one at the Rainbow, he's looking pretty aged and kind of, I mean, to sort of do away with, for me, it would have been a lot easier, obviously, if I kind of could have done that older Lemmy like everyone else and kind of done the shades and hat. I probably would have done it all out of the materials I use. Because they wanted a real likeness of him in that era. I got some help from my friend Paul Stankiewski. It's got really hard to pronounce that.
I was hoping someone else was going to bring his name up. I didn't want to pronounce it first.
And Paul, he sculpted the face, and under my guidance, because I had a certain expression and a look I was going for. I mean, I did start out sculpting it, and then time was sort of running away with me, and I was kind of starting to panic. And when you're panicking, trying to do art is just really it can be really unconducive, especially if you're doing something it's not really your field of expertise, like sculpting in clay. So, and I knew Paul was an excellent sculptor. So, I had some drawings and we looked at images together, and then I was kind of guiding him as he went and making changes along the way. But yeah, so he got that likeness. Now the hard bit was getting the cast of the face done, because I wanted it in a weldable steel as opposed to just doing it in bronze. If I'd done it in bronze, it would have been easy. I could have done it like down the road from where I live.
Well, we know you don't like easy, Al.
No, I don't like easy. So the face, so from the clay cast, from the clay sculpt, I then took it to a woman who lived in Robertsbridge, about an hour and a half away from me. And then she made a rubber mold of that face that sits inside it's a 4-part fiberglass case to hold the mold in the exact shape it needs to be held. And that process took a couple of weeks. And then I went and collected it from her. and then I took that mold to a company called AB Fine Arts, where they've got like they're doing Tracy Emin's and all this sort of top artist stuff. It was all hush hush, kind of tightly under wraps, but they're really lovely. They gave me like all this tour of their foundry and everything, so they were really awesome. And then so they had the rubber mold, then they cast from that a solid positive in wax, so it's a lost wax, and then they attach runners so that the metal can be poured into this, this sort of face. And then they create a ceramic shell around that lost wax. They dip it every day for about a week, twice a day, in fact. And then they wrap it in a muslin, and then they kind of keep dipping it. And then they fire that shell in a kiln to make a ceramic hard shell, pour out the wax, and then they give me the shell. It can't be couriered because this thing's like really fragile. Wow. And then I took it up to Stoke-on-Trent, which was Lemmy's birthplace. Because for me, it's kind of a bit of I wanted to make it a sort of personal journey for the piece as well as myself and everything. It's just kind of, it's a ridiculous idea I had.
Yeah, I think it's a really important detail, though. It's just such a lovely part of the whole story of this bust coming together.
Yeah, and the guys up there, now forgive me, I can't remember their name. But they're a big casting foundry. I mean, these guys cast everything in the world, every piece of art in Dubai to America to Australia. They are like the go-to casting place. And this guy, Terry, who's a lovely guy, one of the directors, just such a lovely chap. Just had lots of cups of tea with him while I was up there. When I originally sent him the images of what I wanted to cast, and I didn't say who it was or what it was. And he was just like, local lad. All right. And so he knew. And he had a bit of soft spot. He's a rocker. Do you know what I mean? So many Motorhead fans I've met on this journey as well, which has been awesome. And they've all like bent over backwards to kind of help me get it done on time. Because some of these processes, they're like, it's 6 to 8 weeks. And I had like, a month and a half to get it done. Wow. And there's four different processes, everyone telling me it's 6 to 8 weeks for every single part of the journey. I'm like, I can't do it. And so everyone really helped out by kind of making it happen. So I got the cast done, in Stoke-on-Trent, and then sort of drove home with it, and then put my back out on the drive home, which was I put it out all the way up to the day before Bloodstock. And Mike, as you know, this part of the story,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was basically asking Mike I was like, you're gonna have to take the bus. I can't even get out of bed or anything. I was just like laid up. And then miraculously, I woke up the day of Bloodstock at 5 a.m, and my back was suddenly healed after
That's
2 weeks.
Miracle.
That's Lemmy, isn't it? Lemmy's like, listen.
Yeah, you were touched in your sleep by the ghost of Lemmy.
Man, do you know, it feels weird to say it, but it feels like there was definitely some sort of I don't know, intervention of some sort of spiritual angle here.
Wow.
Yeah, possibly. So there's a video posted, I think you shot it, of you doing some work on Lemmy, and there's this one bit that fascinates me, that you're doing his hair and you're absolutely smashing the shit out of it with a hammer, trying to get it into the right shape. And it fascinates me that there's this piece of art that you have to be so violent with to get it to do what you want it to do. Like, it amazes me. Like, it's just like,
I know,
your art, as all the muscles in your arm are going and spang, and Lemmy's just sitting there like, yeah, whatever, fuck it, bring it on, man.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal sometimes, isn't it? To get this gentle flow of a shape of hair, it's like done with such brute force sometimes. And the story of that is, it was just after I did that off, and I wasn't filming. I was hammering the other side of his hair really hard, and then he was rocking about on the stand I'd made out of this brake disc, and the weld snapped and he fell over. It's like burning hot, whole hair's like, sort of red hot metal, and he sort of landed on this plastic chair. The chair catches fire. I'm like, I can't do anything. I can't pick it up. So I just had to like kick it onto the floor. It's this I sort of wish I'd got that on video now, really. But
Can you imagine doing that with like a marble sculpture or something? Like, I better start again.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Into bits.
Let's just talk about Lemmy's jacket, because you talked about the face, and it is amazing. And I think one of the things about sculpture that always blows me away is when there's real like life in the face, for something that's kind of a solid object. But with this particular sculpture, you can see, you've really captured Lemmy in the face. And like you just mentioned, the hair, it kind of has this flowing quality to it, even though it's just been beaten into place.
Yeah.
But then we get down to like his jacket, which is this intricate kind of placement of cogs and bits of engine and whatever else you're using. Where do you start?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky one with the full three-dimensional piece, because usually I make a lot of wall pieces, and so I sort of draw them in chalk on a piece of rusted steel to get the outline and find the pieces to fit. So with this, I kind of drew it as a life-size drawing, and then I basically started with the jacket. So I started making an armature, so cutting thin rods of steel to the right lengths, and basically building this sort of jacket in three-dimensional space. It's like drawing in three-dimensional space. And then as I'm forging up the parts, I started with the lapels of his jacket, which were kind of made out of a pair of bolt croppers. I've got a little stop frame animation that's on my Instagram, actually, showing how me sort of forging them up. So I started with the lapels of his jacket, and then I'm sort of cutting away the framework I've built to sort of fit these pieces on. So it's kind of a lot of, undoing kind of 3 days work as I go. But yeah, it's kind of a necessary part of the process. And then just, making everything, fit together like a sort of big jigsaw, really. And like, so everything goes through the heat process. So I've got a way to manipulate, bend, and sort of shape stuff. So I can kind of shape stuff a little bit to those to how I want it, and kind of get that aesthetic kind of going.
Great. It looks incredible. And let's talk about the delivery. So you bring it all to, it's complete, just in the nick of time. You get it to Bloodstock. Phil Campbell, Motorhead guitar player, was there to present it to the crowd. What was the reaction of everyone seeing it for the first time? The Bloodstock crew, Phil Campbell, everyone. Who was there when you unveiled it, and what was the response?
Yes, when I first turned up with my little algae coated caravan, first person to meet me was Alan Hungerford, who was Lemmy's PA and bodyguard.
Yeah,
this guy used to carry Lemmy's wallet around for him. Do you know what I mean? And did everything with him. And so he was the first person to step into the caravan and sort of like open up the blanket and look into the face of the sculpture. And he was just, oh my God. It's like he's in the room with me. His reaction was quite a critical one, really, because this is a guy that spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
And he was blown away. He was absolutely blown away. And I don't think he was just saying that. And then we sort of hiked it into the back of one of their little go-kart things, wrapped up, and then took it to the production area backstage, where there was Vicky, who I met for the first time in the flesh, and some of the sort of crew, the sort of making Bloodstock, the inner workings. And then they kind of got it out, and they sort of had a little unveiling in their sort of porter cabin. And then everyone was just like, "Wow, yeah!" Everyone was really blown away, and which was good.
How were you feeling in that moment? Like, did you get nervous, or you?
Yeah, well, I was well nervous. Yeah, it's just like, oh shit, but I was quite confident as well, because I just, it was a great piece. I put a lot of, when I sort of make sculptures that I'm into, and I'm in the flow, a lot of that energy that gets put in, I think it really resonates with the piece, and people can kind of see it and feel it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that, that's good.
Yeah.
So they hadn't seen it until that point.
No.
Oh, wow.
They hadn't seen. I'd shown them little bits of like the inside and the bits of the jacket coming together, but no one had seen.
Like a super close up of Lemmy's mole. Here's a bit of detail.
Yeah.
Talk about the because it's got his ashes in it, right? And can you talk about the sizing of that and what you did because it's lockable, right? So nobody can.
That was tricky. That was really tricky, because I sort of making the jacket and the lapels of his jacket, and I was worried it's going to be too much of a small window, and I didn't want to have this kind of gaping circular porthole in the middle of the sculpture. I wanted it to work in with the sculpture, so it's kind of like nestled, this window is kind of between the lapels of his open jacket, and at the top of it there's the sort of a t-shirt looking detail made out of a brake disc. So I bought a lockable safe, like from Amazon, a semi good one that's got a kind of 3-bar kind of lock on it. and then basically sort of cut the back of it off. So you still got the door. So let's say the door's the front. So shot the back of it off, and then made basically some runners so the whole thing would slid into the sculpture. Because I had to be able to slide it in and out, sort of be able to put it in and remove it when I was kind of using a lot of heat and stuff, but sort of build the sculpture around it. And then that was the final thing to do, was put that in place. That's it, because I had to put the glass sort of in front of that. It had to be sort of fixed in. So the glass, I couldn't put the glass in until the sculpture was finished. There was kind of these sort of the steps sort of that had to be taken. So in that order. So put the glass in once the sculpture was finished, and then slid the box in. And then there's a couple of last component engine parts that go either side of the blocks, and then weld it into situ so that the box can no longer be removed. And then it's lockable by key. There's a really cool flap. The whole back of his jacket kind of flaps up, and the back of his jacket's made out of a piece of airplane turbine, which is the tricky. It won't be on display because it's the back of his jacket. But it's just kind of
a bomber, I hope.
A bomber.
Bomber, yeah. So look, what I didn't know until it was on stage and Phil Campbell waffled on about what Phil Campbell said, but they were talking about it, is that it's going to be at Bloodstock every year.
Yeah.
Are they going to? They're bringing it back every year. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be Nottingham Rock City is where it's going to live all year round in its own bespoke display case, so you can go and visit there. And then it'll be taken back to Bloodstock every year. Yeah.
I mean, it's such a significant point just to reflect on that. You know, this bust, this piece of work you've created contains Lemmy's ashes. There's a piece of Lemmy in there, you know, and this is where people are going to come to pay their respects, whether they're at Nottingham Rock City or they're coming back to Bloodstock. Lemmy was such an important figure to so many people in the heavy metal community. You know, to be a part of something where people are literally year after year, decade after decade, going to come and just pay their respects is huge. You know, an incredible achievement, you know. So when they presented it on stage, did you hear the roar from the crowd?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was sort of stage right on the stage, sort of just filming it, and it looked like there was about sort of 10,000 people there or so. Yeah. And then when everyone started chanting, Lemmy, Lemmy, it's just like, whoa, wow, that was a pretty powerful moment. That's really poignant. Another poignant moment for me, it was I was in the gallery at one point, sort of quietly, you know, sort of taking photos, and this guy was I sort of chatted to this guy, and he was like, oh, I can't look at the statue. And I was like, oh no, I was like, oh what? Do you not like it? He's like, no, it's amazing. It's just too emotional if I look at it. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Thanks, man. That's so I made it, and I told him that, and then this guy just burst into tears, and then started hugging me, and I was and I got really emotional. I got really choked up as well, and just giving this guy a hug, and he was just like, it's so amazing. You know, he's telling me how amazing it was. I was like, whoa, it's just really full on.
It's powerful, really full on. It's powerful.
Yeah, really powerful. It's like, wow. If a piece of art, I mean, I know it's more about the memory that it evokes rather than the artwork itself, but it was still quite I felt a level of success, I guess, as an artist at that moment.
Well, I think all good art speaks to us on those levels, doesn't it? It just evokes something in us, connects us to other things, whether it's emotions or memories or you know, it's more than just the object in front of us, isn't it? And I think this particular piece, you've absolutely nailed it. I mean, there's not one part of that sculpture that isn't absolutely beautiful and absolutely and just done right. I mean, it really is an incredible bit of work. So, you know, we thank you for that. We really do. I'm proud of you for what you've achieved with it, because it is amazing. Man.
I am too.
Do you read any feedback, like, because you know, after the event, obviously it gets shared, and I've seen like Marshall Amps are sharing it on their social media. A lot of the heavy metal kind of community sharing it on their social media.
It's worth noting as well that the BBC and Sky News have picked this up as well. So that's even bigger, that it's gone beyond our world, so to speak, and picked up by mainstream media.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's a shame they didn't put my name on it anywhere, though. But
no, we thought that we had that same sort of discussion. Yeah, but
Do you follow it? Do you read people's comments? Do you read people's feedback, or is it's like done now? On to the next thing.
Oh no, yeah, no, read it. I read every comment. I comment back where I can, and there's a little bit of haters, a few haters out there, but that's all part of it, isn't it? If you put something up for public debate, there's always going to be varying opinions, Yep. But generally, the general public opinion is pretty positive, I'd say, overwhelmingly so. So, that's pretty good.
Well, I think anybody that has any sort of negative view on something like this, whether you're a heavy metal fan or whatever it may be, that's just people just want to do that for the sake of it. They just go fuck themselves, going, yeah, exactly. It's just sad behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
No need for it.
So look, there's probably going to be a whole pile of other commissions that ensue based on this one. You're probably going to get calls from Metallica's management, Iron Maiden, all that kind of stuff. But if there was one other artist, living or dead, that you would love to do a commission for, who would it be? Who would it be next?
Probably like David Bowie, I think. I'm not a massive David Bowie fan, but I like icons, iconic, sort of legendary figures, I suppose. And also he's just really cool. There's like all the sort of crazy fashions and sort of hairstyles and stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think that could be quite interestingly represented, I suppose.
Yeah, he's a man of 1,000 faces, wasn't he? Really, you could run wild with David Bowie's image.
You could have like a head that rotates, and every time it rotates, there's like a different face on it, right?
The changes.
Exactly. Like Man from He-Man or something.
Yeah. But I mean, doing this is the first bust I've ever done. So I mean, most of my stuff is kind of birds, sort of octopuses, fish, aquatic, avian, mythological stuff. Done like Cthulhu, I suppose, representation of that. But it's the first time I've done a human figure, really.
That's
I find that
mind.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I wasn't at Bloodstock, so I didn't get to see it in the flesh. But now that I know it's coming back every year, I'll get to see it next year. So looking forward to it.
One of the other things I really liked about that bust, because there's not a lot you can do with kind of a torso with no arms, but I kind of put this lean on it, so it's really massively off balance, like visually, but that's purposefully done to give this. I wanted to give this impression of him sort of leaning. I was working mostly off a picture of Lemmy kind of giving the middle finger, so he had this kind of slightly leaning into the camera sort of thing, and it kind of has that. I wanted to capture something of that attitude without having to put the sweary finger in there.
You nailed it, Al. I mean, we talked about it in the when we were looking at it together. I noticed it straight away. It's just got this really evocative kind of positioning. It gives it so much character.
Slightly up, and it's just that whole slight attitudinal kind of attitudinal. But you know what I mean? Yeah, that's sort of capturing something.
Yeah, I mean, you'd know it was Lemmy even if you covered his face up.
Just from
that. Just from the hair and the swagger, you'd be like, I know that bad boy.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah.
So what's next?
Hold on. That's not to say the face isn't great. To Paolo, whatever the other guy's name is, it is. I'm just saying that overall, like it's got it exudes Lemmy.
It's the character. Captured the spirit and the essence and the character of a legend. It's a job well done, and it's appreciated by all of us. What's next for you, Al, man? What's your next piece of work?
My next piece of work is another memorial project, actually, for a motorbike rider who died. I think he was part of a sort of racing team or something like that, and he had a bespoke made helmet. So I'm doing two versions of it for a cafe on the Isle of Man, which is kind of a biker's sort of. So I guess kind of linked in slightly. So I'm doing a life-size sort of sculpts of those for them. So that's kind of my next project. Nice. Other than that, I'll probably try and build on a few speculative pieces as well. I always like to have an octopus in the bank, as they say.
As they say.
It's news every day.
Let's hope they say in my house.
let's just hope that like your commissions aren't all for dead people in the future, because that would be a little bit macabre. I think.
Yeah, no, I've done quite a
other
few.
stuff
I've done a
going on.
lot. Yeah, I've done a lot of memorial stuff. Yeah, I think the most tragic one. I probably don't want to hear the tragedy one, but it was this girl, the little girl, died of cancer, and I made this Finding Nemo thing for her school. That was all
Wow.
very emotional. Oh my God, that's horrendously emotional.
Yeah,
Can
that's
imagine.
hard.
I can only imagine, man.
Yeah,
Let's go.
You got to hurt for your art there, right?
yeah, right. That's it. So hopefully more for, let's do more stuff for living people. That's what I'm hoping to do.
That's it. And for anyone that wants to check out your work and see what you're all about and what we've been talking about, where can they find you?
Yeah, so it's Alan Williams, metal artist. If you Google metal artist, I think I'll still come up top on Google apparently. And I've got, that's all right, isn't it? And I've got Instagram and Facebook on my main socials. Don't really do TikTok.
It's alanwilliamsmetalartist.com.
Yeah,
that's
the one. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Well, we'll put all that out on the when we post this on the socials and all that anyway. So there'll be plenty of places to find you. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Al, thanks so much for coming on and doing this, because, for me, I don't know you, and it was great to hear the story behind the whole thing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it in the flesh next year. I think everybody I know that's seen it has been absolutely blown away by it. So it's,
Wicked,
amazing.
Cheers, Steve. Yeah, nice one. Well, hopefully I'll bump into you there. I'm hoping I might get. I'm hoping for a lifetime ticket to Bloodstock. Maybe I might be pushing.
If they don't, they fucking should. So we'll put that out there now.
You should have maybe you should have done like this Banksy thing where you put like a blender in the box. It's like ticket, or I push this button and it burns his ashes into place.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
No, you should have done that. That'd have been terrible. That'd have been terrible. But anyway.
I'm just conscious of the time, so we'll let you go in a sec. But again, thanks for coming on. It's been great fun, and
awesome.
And Bean and Mike, thanks for making us aware of all the background, all the history of this as well. It's all been very enlightening.
Yeah, there's much more anecdotal history between myself, Mike, and Beanie, but we'll leave that for now. But
we don't need that public.
We'll leave that for the pub.
Yeah. We'll leave that for the pub rather than public.
Yeah.
Nice one. Cheers, Steve. Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Bean.
Great to see you, man.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Cool. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope everybody enjoyed Bloodstock as well. And it looks like tickets are fucking flying out for next year as well. So I think it's going to be pretty much nailed on a full house, but I'm sure it'll be another great weekend. I'll be back next year. I promise that. 99%. Until then, we'll be back in a few days. Thanks for listening, and stay metal.